Did you hang around in arcades too much? Were you that annoying 4-year-old who would swing on the joystick with no credits in the machine? Did you impose on younger kids with your winner stays on rule and make them feel worried? Were you the reason that arcade floor was so damn sticky? Then this is the quiz for you. Grab a pen and paper and prepare for 5 questions per round with answers after each one. Mark yourself fairly now and reveal your score in the comments below. If you're going to ruin all those childhood trips to the seaside by insisting that you hang out in a dark cave with a load of flashing screens, you may as well show what you've learned. So, here's round 1. The first round is about those early 80s arcade games, the ones with the black screens and the simple colours. But what do you know about them? Let's start off with question 1, because that's how quizzes work. Donkey Kong was originally going to be a game about which cartoon? 1. Tom and Jerry. 2. Yogi Bear. Or 3. Popeye. What is the highest recognised score that's been achieved on Space Invaders? Is it 184,870? Is it 218,870? Or is it 104,320? Those are big numbers, aren't they? What is the name of the bear in Atari's 1983 game Crystal Castles? Nothing to do with a band that you probably haven't heard of that were around in about the mid-2000s that made a load of noise. Is it Bartley Bear? Is it Bentley Bear? Or is it Barney Bear? That's a good question for you Ursine maniacs out there. Next up, Sega manufactured Frogger in 1981, but it was developed by another Japanese giant. Which one? Was it number 1, Taito? Was it 2, Data East? Or was it 3, Konami? And the final question in the Golden Age round is, what was the most successful arcade game of 1983? Was it number 1, Track and Field? Was it number 2, Dragon's Lair? Or was it number 3, Pole Position? Oh, that was a cartoon. So have you got all your answers down? Would you like a reminder? I'm not going to do that. I think you should have been paying attention. Go back and use the rewind function. I'm not your mama. So are the answers for round 1. Donkey Kong was originally going to be based around Popeye. Yes, there was the 1982 Popeye game which came before it, and they tried to secure the rights for a sequel which would end up being Donkey Kong. So Popeye obviously would have taken the Mario role, Pauline would have been Olive Oil, and Donkey Kong would have been Bluto/Brutus throwing those barrels down. And that's a very interesting fact, I think. I think it's Mario's debut was nearly a Popeye game. So how would that have affected game history? Would we have been seeing Super Popeye Odyssey on the Nintendo Switch? So what is the highest score ever on Space Invaders for question 2? Well, it is 218,870, which was secured by John Tannehill of Brisbane, who was born 17 years after the game was released. And he took that score, that record, off of Richie Knuckles, what a name, who had held the record since 2009. So now we're on to Atari's 1983 game Crystal Castles, and we were trying to work out what the name of that bear was. Well, it was Bentley the bear. Look at him and his little cheeky face. Question 4. Sega manufactured Frogger in 1981, but it was developed by another Japanese giant. Which one? And it was Konami. Yes, this team up was with Konami. Finally, the most successful arcade game of 1983 was Pole Position. Yes, you'd think it would be Dragon's Lair or Track and Field, but no, it was Pole Position, a game that's now been probably more forgotten about than the other two. It raked in more quarters in US arcades than that pair. Hope you got on all right with round 1 there. Let's see how you get on with round 2. Sonic the Hedgehog surprisingly didn't make his debut in Sonic the Hedgehog on the Mega Drive. He in fact made his first appearance in a coin-op in a very reduced role. But what coin-op was it? Was it number 1, Rough Racer? Was it 2, Radmobile? Or was it 3, GP Rider? Question 2. Which creature can the player animorph into in Altered Beast's 4th level? Is it 1, a werewolf? Is it 2, a werebear? Or is it 3, a were-tiger? Question 3. What year did Crazy Taxi come out? Was it 1, 1998? Was it 2, 1999? Or was it 3, the year 2000? Won't it be strange when we're all fully grown? Question 4. What number of sequels, not including yearly updates, did Virtua Striker get up to? Was it 5? Was it 4? Or was it as many as 7? Question 5. Which TV show had a rather rudimentary looking arcade game made about their adventures in 1976 by Sega? Was it 1, Hawaii 5-0? Was it 2, Chips? Or was it 3, Happy Days? And that's the end of the Sega round. Get your pens ready. No cheating. Here then are the answers to the Sega round, and Sonic the Hedgehog made a rather inauspicious debut in video games by appearing as an air freshener or a pendant hanging from the rear view mirror of the car in Radmobile. Question 2's answers: the creature which the player animorphs into on level 4 of the interminably terrible Altered Beast is a were-tiger. Growl. Answer number 3. What year did Crazy Taxi come out? It was 1999. I'm sure you're all singing ya 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 in your heads all day after day. You know, all that. Number 4. What number of sequels did Virtua Striker get up to? Not including yearly updates. It was Virtua Striker 4 that brought the series to an end in 2004. And which TV show had a rather rudimentary looking arcade game about its adventures in 1976? It was Happy Days, with their game based on the lead character, or the most charismatic character anyway, the Fonz. Yes, who doesn't want to play the Fonz arcade game? Actually, I don't want to play the Fonz arcade game, so there's that. Now it's the movie round. Let's test your knowledge of arcade machines' appearances in movies. So let's start off with RoboCop 2. Yes, RoboCop 2 is a fight scene in an arcade that features Data East distributed coin-ops. The machines are Kung Fu Master, Bad Dudes vs Dragon Ninja, Midnight Resistance, and which other game? Is it number 1, Sly Spy, number 2, Karnov, or number 3, Super Burger Time? Sorry, that's not an easy question, is it? Hulk Hogan's alien muscle man fish out of water comedy Suburban Commando featured which airborne Sega arcade classic? Was it 1, G-Lock? Was it 2, Thunderblade? Or was it 3, Afterburner? Question 3. Terminator 2 had John Connor playing a very on-point arcade classic other than the aforementioned Afterburner. Which one was it? Was it A, Robotron 2084? Was it B, Terminator 2, the arcade game? Or was it C, Missile Command? Question 4. Which cowboy game has a starring role in the future section of Back to the Future 2? Is it A, Sunset Riders? Is it B, Wild Gunman? Or is it C, Bank Panic? It's cowboys because it sets up Back to the Future 3. It's clever, that, isn't it? Eh? Aren't directors clever? And finally, question 5. Matthew Broderick played a famous retro shooter in 1983's War Games. But which one was it? Was it A, Gallagher? Was it B, Space Invaders? Or was it C, Phoenix? And those answers then. So, RoboCop 2 has a fight scene in an arcade game. What was the missing one that wasn't Kung Fu Master? Bad Dudes, Midnight Resistance. The other game was Sly Spy. Question 2. Hulk Hogan's alien muscle man fish out of water comedy Suburban Commando featured in breaking the joystick of which arcade game? Well, it was Afterburner because he's an ace pilot in that film. Terminator 2's John Connor plays Afterburner, much like Hulk Hogan, but he also plays Missile Command. Why is it on point? Well, it's because obviously you have to avert nuclear disaster. See, directors, clever people. Wasn't Terminator 2 arcade game, that would be 2 on point, wouldn't it? Which cowboy game has a starring role in the future bit of Back to the Future 2? Well, it's Wild Gunman. Look at him being judged by Frodo out of Lord of the Rings. And finally, Matthew Broderick played which retro shooter in War Games? It was Gallagher.
That man is playing Gallagher.
A good game indeed. So, mark your results, and then we'll move on to the next round. Now we're doing a round about punching, be it a scrolling beat 'em up or indeed a one-on-one variant. So, First question. The orange-clad samurai wannabe in Final Fight is of course called Sodom. But what was he called in the Super Nintendo conversion in both America and Europe? Was he called A. Katana, B. Sheath, or C. Damned? That's a tough one to start off with, isn't it? Here's question 2. How many coloured ninjas were there in the original Mortal Kombat game? Was there just one? Was there 2? Or were there 3? What is the first weapon that you can pick up in Double Dragon? Is it A. a whip? Is it B. a barrel? Or is it C. a baseball bat? How many countries are represented in Super Street Fighter 2? And yes, I'm going to count Hong Kong and China as separate here. Is it A. 11? Is it B. 12? Or is it C. 10? Ponder on that. What is the name of this top-heavy fighting wench who debuted in Fatal Fury 2? Is her name Mei Shindogu? Is it Mai Shirenwi? Or is it Mavis Sherborne? So let's get to the punchy answers. The samurai called Sodom in most versions of the game is called Katana in the Super Nintendo ports in both the PAL and the North American regions. I'm assuming something to do with religion or sodomy or something like that. But it's Katana. How many ninjas? Well, there were 3. There was Scorpion, Sub-Zero, and the semi-hidden character Reptile. What's the first weapon you can pick up in Double Dragon? Well, it's the whip. Yes, I thought it was the baseball bat, but no, apparently it is the whip in the arcade version. She comes out the door there, punch her in the face, and steal her whip. How many countries are represented in Super Street Fighter 2? Well, there's Japan, China, Hong Kong, England, Jamaica, India, Russia, Brazil, USA, Spain, Thailand and Mexico, making a total of 12 countries represented in Super Street Fighter 2. And what finally is the name of Jugs McGee here with her big milkers is Mai Shirenwi. That's the end of your punching round. I hope you're getting on all right. So now we've moved on to our final round, and hopefully you've got a decent score. Hopefully you're in double figures at least. So the first question is, which company released the game based on Superman? Was it A. Taito? Was it B. Data East? Or was it C. Jalico? Question 2. How many of the 12 wrestlers at the time of recording are still alive from Techno's seminal classic WWF WrestleFest, which came out in 1991? Is it A. 7? Is it B. 5? Or is it C. 4? Which of these 80s movies didn't have an arcade game? Is it A. Krull, B. Raiders of the Lost Ark, or C. Willow? Question 4. The first arcade game based on Marvel Comics was Captain America and the Avengers. It wasn't very good, if I'm being honest. But 2 of the other characters in this game were Iron Man and Hawkeye obviously along with Captain America. Who was the fourth Avenger featured? Was it A, Black Widow? Was it B, The Vision? Or was it C, Thor? And the final question of the round, and indeed the quiz, is this. Which soft rock band had a Bally Midway arcade game that came out in 1983? Was it A, Journey, B, Toto, or C, Kiss? And that's the final question of the game. Let's do the answers for that round, and let's then do our summing up. So, hope you're doing alright. Here are the answers for the final round, which was of course based on licenses. Which company released the game based on Superman? Taito put one out in 1988, which had like music from the films, but wasn't actually based on the film, and the second player looked a bit like Shazam. Question 2. How many of the 12 wrestlers at the time of recording are still alive from Techno's 1991 WWF WrestleFest game? Just 5, which shows that wrestling is a bit of a dangerous game to get into if you're a big meathead. They are Smash, Hulk Hogan, Ted DiBiase, Jake the Snake Roberts, and Sergeant Slaughter. What a sad little question that is. Which of the 80s movies didn't have an arcade game? Well, Kroll had one put out by Atari in 1983, and Willow had an arcade game that was released by Capcom in 1989. So Raiders of the Lost Ark is the correct answer. There was of course one based on Temple of Doom, but not Raiders of the Lost Ark. The first arcade game based on a Marvel thing was of course Captain America. What was the missing Avenger out of the lineup? It was The Vision. He was the missing Avenger there. The game's not very good, as I've said before. And which soft rock band had a Bally Midway arcade game that came out in 1983? It was Journey. There's their little black and white digitised heads bobbing along there. So yes, Journey had an arcade game back in the space year of 1983. Incredible. So yes, sorry about that.